Yeah. Uh, I'm really like on my like YouTube shit right now, but I like to post shit on Facebook first because you know Facebook is Facebook, and I probably have more viewers on Facebook than I do on YouTube at this particular period of time. So and people want to say shit. I generally don't know what I want to fucking say, just that I have shit to say, and that I'll be concerned about how the fuck my hair looks and whatever. We got up late. We have been consistently going out and engaging in the law, the laws that govern human agency, positive participation, particularly the law of attraction. And I cannot stress enough how important it is in order to attract what you want to be actively working towards what it is you want, or at least producing the energy necessary to put yourself in a position to attain what it is that you want. The law of attraction is really like, the law of attraction, law of action. And I like to use this apartment as a great example. We had the mind state that we were going to end up with an apartment. We didn't know where the money was going to come from. We didn't know how we were going to get where the apartment was going to be. What circumstances would lead to us eventually ending in an apartment. But as long as we engaged in those laws of action on a day-to-day basis, we knew that what we desired would materialize as long as we had the faith that it would materialize. And as far as that was concerned, that was us getting up every morning, regardless of where we were, and getting out on those corners and fucking selling whatever it is that we had on the table, be it, her jewelry, if it just be stones, if it be, incense, if it be, oils, or if it be soap or shea butter, whatever it was, that we be actively working towards establishing autonomy. That we did not get up in the morning, and we had a donation jar. And sometimes our donation jar would fill up more than anything else would fill up. But it wasn't the mind state of that we were here begging for money. We're not begging for your help. We're here with a product, here to sell you a product to exchange. And now if you feel a need to donate to our cause, then donate. And people donated. Sometimes our donations well exceeded ourselves. And I don't want to get into, saying that really, but even that mind state was the mind state that ended up that this apartment is primarily a donation. That we have to maintain the donation, but still this apartment and its furniture and most of the things that are in it ended up being a donation. And it didn't become, and it's a lot of, and I'm not trying to say that I'm better or we're better than any of the other people that are on the streets of Hollywood Boulevard, because we're not. Our mind frame was different. It was better. Our plan of attack was better. How we got up in the morning being on the street and not being homeless, the difference between homeless mentality and a street mentality. And we acquired a street mentality versus a homeless mentality. Now there's other brothers who, sisters, white, black, whatever race, nationality, ethnicity, who are on Hollywood Boulevard, who adapted the same mentality either by listening to what we had to say or by watching what we did and emulating what we did, and are no longer in that same position. Regardless of how they felt about us personally, they saw the work ethic and emulated the work ethic and find themselves in far better positions than they were prior to emulating our work ethic or our model. So, circumstances are not necessarily the defining point or the defining condition for any individual, or a condition is not the defining circumstance. I used to tell my brother that all the time. You see me in a certain position or in a certain condition, and you're defining me by a condition. That condition doesn't define me. I define me. And that's before I really had embraced the law of attraction, the universal laws that govern human agency, as being the most viable means to attaining what it is I want in life. That there was no person other than this person that could create the reality that I wanted. But there were living principles that I could utilize in order to attain the life that I want. And that's, for me, Allah, or the manager. The integer is living principles that a person lives by. And when that person lives by those living principles, that is a law of the integer, the principles that the life that they're living, the lifestyle that they're living is called Islam, I self-aware master. From my perspective, and from a Sufi perspective, as far as the science or the more Eastern version of Islam is concerned. So that's basically my morning rant, is that realizing these laws that govern human agency are living laws, that they themselves are consciously connected to the universe, and that the universe itself responds to the adherence to these living principle laws, and therefore provides a viable lifestyle for the individual living by these laws. And that lifestyle can easily be called Islam or Il-Sima, Il-Mayat, the union with the laws that govern human agency, which is what Mayat is. So, or Mayal, which is the practice. And again, I have this scholarship, I'm going to show the scholarship. And therefore I'm a Moor, because I actively operate within that law. The Moor, the practitioner of the Mayal, which is the practicing of the Mayat, which is the Mayal, and therefore the practitioner is the Mayor, and therefore I'm a Mayor, and in modern pronunciation would be Moor. So the practice of a Moor is Islam. And I could take that back to antiquity, back to Natarianism, and that the evidence for that is in Natarianism. That the last language of the inhabitants of Egypt, who were forced out by the Romans and left after the Roman collapse, were referred to as the Suf. Their language is referred to as the Suf. It is the last generation of the Suf pretty much died off in the last, 2 or 3 decades. So, and the fact that Suf means wool, or Sufi means wool, that means that they were woolly haired people, because Sufis to this day wear woolly caps to indicate or to denote that they are Sufi. So that's the connections that I see in relationship to Sufism. I also want to talk about race in antiquity too, and ethnicity in antiquity in relationship to Tigrinians and Armenians, but I'm not really going to get into that right now. The Tigrinians becoming the Tawadu Hebrew, and the Armenians becoming the Samaritan Israelites, and that Israelite was never a word used to describe the Tawadu, the so-called Jew of antiquity, even that of color, and that they had their own ethnic issues in relationship to the more knottier haired, darker Abnab Africans, that would be known as the Western Africans. And my brother Fellas posted that something about smacking the guy who said he was a North American Aboriginal. Your DNA says you're West African, and that's the truth. That's why I laughed at that, because the truth is that a lot of us want to get into this Aboriginal North American shit, and deny the fact that these North American Aboriginals came from West Africa, and all the evidence supports that they are predominantly genetically West African, and were even by Ivan Van Sterdema and David M. Otep's scholarship, were shunned by the native Aboriginal North Americans, and that there were a lot of dispute between the two tribes, between the two individual ethnicities. And that even if you wanted to note that Africans were here before the transatlantic slave trade, you have to understand that they came by the way of the same Middle Passage. And primarily, if you get a DNA test, and if you're African American, you're going to find out that your roots are in West Africa. They're not in North America. So the North American Aboriginal is entirely a different species, ethnicity, and therefore species or ethnic subspecies of the human species than the West African, in which we are primarily West African. And if there is any, and then saying the Hebrew Israelites use that West Africa, that migration from Northwest Africa and Northeast Africa to West Africa to what's the word I'm looking for? To validate this Hebrew Israelite bullshit. But that's just the migration of African people, and you can see that's the Niger. And you can see the Niger made this commute from Mali, the Dogon, so on. You can even say it back to Saqqara and Ramses' expulsion of the last students of Akhenaten and their migration to Mali and their connection to the Dogon. So those are some of the things I'm gonna get into later on. But I had to start off with what I'm saying, the law of attraction and all that shit. Good morning, Facebook, YouTube, whoever I might